Reverend Alexa Eisenbarth, Associate Pastor here at First United Methodist Church of Olympia. For the next few weeks, we are looking through this book, Life of the Beloved by Henri Nouwen. We've done a couple of devotions on this so far, so I encourage you to go back and watch them if you haven't. But if you have, just a quick recap. So we are looking through Life of the Beloved, which the subtitle is Spiritual Living in a Secular World. Henri Nouwen offers us a fourfold path, a fourfold rhythm of life to respond to living in a secular world, and invites us into various spiritual practices to sort of mitigate or offer an antidote to living in the world as it is. So this fourfold rhythm is this: taken, blessed, broken, and given. We've talked about taken, and today we talk about blessed. These four words are from the institution of communion, the institution of Eucharist, from the first time that Jesus sat at table with his disciples and offered them a practice of thanksgiving for the food and one another and for God's grace, and for offering some symbolism in the bread and the wine. So when we practice communion now, we take the bread or we take the cup and then we bless it. And with the bread, we then break it and then we give both the cup and the bread. So today we're going to talk about the act of blessing. So last week we talked about taking bread, and this week we bless it. And when we bless the bread, we hold it up. When we hold it up, we aren't changing anything about the bread, but we are offering it a place of honor. We are holding it up, looking at it, seeing it for what it really is, and telling the truth about it. And the truth about the bread in Eucharist or in communion is that this is the body of Christ. This is the body of Christ. When we hold up the cup, we bless it by saying, this is the cup of the new covenant, the blood of Christ. When we bless things, we speak well of them. When we bless people, we speak well of them. We say what is ultimately true about them and what their greatest potential or what they are becoming. We acknowledge who and what they are becoming. It is not a false admiration or gassing up of someone. Blessing says something that is true. So when we hold the bread and we say, this is the body of Christ, we are saying something true and good about it. Henri Nouwen says, blessing touches the original goodness of the other. You may have heard of original sin, but more true than original sin is original goodness. God created each one of us and called us good. That is the ultimate truth. So we talked about being taken last week, being taken, being chosen, being picked up, being scooped up in God's hands. And that we sort of understand as a one-time event. God doesn't set you down or put you away. You are always taken or chosen. You are always in the palm of God's hand. But that act of taking happens once. So blessing is the thing that is ongoing through our lives. Blessing is the acknowledgement of ongoing chosenness, of ongoing takenness. Blessing is our sustenance for the long journey of faith. Perhaps you do this in your human relationships, in your relationships with other people, in your family, or in relationships with friends or romantic partners. Perhaps this line comes up for you. I know you chose me once, but do you still? Perhaps we were sure of a moment when someone said yes to you, when someone chose to spend time with you, to be your friend, to be someone who loves you. But there's a seed of doubt that says, but do you still? Henri Nouwen identifies this as stemming from the temptation of self-rejection, that there's something in us that either other people might not accept because we don't accept it in ourselves. We reject parts of ourselves and who we really are. And so when we do that, we have these seeds of doubt. Do you still choose me? Do you still love me? So I want to put some words of, some language that God might use in your mind. It's been helpful for me in my own practice to read how other people hear God so that I can start maybe thinking that God speaks to me that way. So this is a poem by Kaylin Hott. I asked God if it was okay to be melodramatic, and she said yes. I asked her if it was okay to be short, and she said it sure is. I asked her if I could wear nail polish or not wear nail polish, and she said, honey, she calls me that sometimes. She said, you can do just exactly what you want to. Thanks, God, I said. And is it even okay if I don't paragraph my letters? Sweet cakes, God said. Who knows where she picked that up? What I'm telling you is yes, yes, yes. These words are a blessing from God, from the author, from Kaylin. Yes, yes, yes. God says yes to you. Do you still want me? Yes. That is blessing. In our world, it is easy to feel cursed. I don't know if you're feeling this at this point in time, but I am in a phase of my life, emerging adulthood, the feeling of the veil being torn on this myth or fairy tale of adulthood. I've lived my entire life imagining what adulthood might look like, what it might be. And over again, those fairy tale dreams, the myth of adulthood is squashed and squandered. A lot of this has been squashed by the pandemic. So many things were unable to happen that I had imagined, connections made, friendships had, because we were isolating, because we were separated from one another. And even before that, as the election of 2016 was taking place, I saw my peers, my same age peers, in Charlottesville rioting with tiki torches for white supremacy, on the side of white supremacy. This event and others around it tore the veil of what I thought the future would look like, what my adulthood would look like, what the world would look like when I was grown up. It has left me questioning, is this all there is? Is this all there is? Is this what life looks like? Is this all there is for me? Henri Nouwen would say that these are questions that ask, am I cursed? It doesn't feel like I'm a blessed one. When it doesn't feel like there's hope, when I can't foresee a way out of all the challenges to getting to the place I want to be, or the place that I imagine. So in these settings, in these sorts of situations or circumstances, how then do we hear and claim the blessing God has for us? Henri Nouwen offers two practices. The first is prayer. I struggle with prayer. I spend a lot of time in my head. And so to spend more time in my head is not a relief to me. But Henri Nouwen presents it in a bit of a different way, and I hope it is of relief to you. He understands prayer to be a time when we become silent and listen to the voice that says good things about you. This is not a practice of arrogance, of wanting adoration, but it is a time to listen to the voice that says good and true things about you. Because, my friends, there are good and true things to be said about you. Henri Nouwen offers one practice in this, if prayer is something that is difficult or challenging for you. One way to hear that voice that says good and true things about you is to pray with a sacred text. This could be a prayer that someone has written, and you spend time memorizing or going through slowly, repeating the lines, making them be part of your heart language, so that when you enter into prayer, you can repeat things that are true and that invite you into the presence of God to hear good and true things. One of the prayers he offers is the prayer of Saint Francis of Assisi that starts with, "Make me an instrument of your peace." Maybe that's one you want to explore. One of my sacred texts is C.S. Lewis's A Grief Observed. And so this is one thing that helps me with my prayer. "When I lay these questions before God, I get no answer, but a rather special sort of no answer. It is not the locked door. It is more like a silent, certainly not uncompassionate gaze. As though he shook his head not in refusal, but waving the question like, 'Peace, child, you don't understand.'" This sacred text for me helps me in prayer because I can go in prayer and imagine an image of God looking at me with a compassionate gaze, saying, "Peace, child, you don't understand." There is a tenderness and a compassion there that gives me blessing, that blesses me. The second practice that Henri Nouwen offers is the cultivation of presence. We might call this becoming attentive, heightening our awareness, but it is becoming aware of the blessing that is around us and responding to that blessing and affirming that blessing that we receive with gratitude and acknowledgement. It is easy to say when someone says, "You were so good at that. I so appreciate this gift of yourself you offered to us today." And you can say, "Oh, no worries. No problem. No big deal." That is the go-to response in our day. But Henri Nouwen invites us to actually accept those words. When someone compliments you or offers you a word of blessing or gratitude, to actually accept it, to say thank you. I really appreciate that. At least in some way in your spirit. Maybe it starts with just your words in the interaction of saying out loud, "Thank you." That will change and shift the heart to accept the blessing. At the end of every worship service, we offer something called a benediction, which is just a fancy word meaning blessing. And when we offer a blessing, we lift up our hands. And we actually think that there is something that passes from us to you through our hands. That we are casting out with our words and our hands that sense of blessing, the power of blessing, that we're giving something to you. And so if we are cultivating presence, if we are working on accepting and letting in blessing to our lives, I invite you, when you receive those benedictions, those blessings, to put your palms out, to have them out and receive what we are offering, what other people offer you as blessing, what God is offering to you as blessing, good words that are true about you. So as we go with this blessing, receive this blessing. You are loved by God. You are a delightful creature. By just your presence, you offer gifts to the world. It is a wonder and a pleasure to be in your presence. You are a blessing. May God bless you. Amen.